been preparing my network partners.
Have you been preparing your
I have
networking
been
partners? I
preparing
know
my
that's like your
networking
entire
partners.
life. It's
That-
just like you and your
it
networking
is.
partners. That's
Are we
the
live?
truth. We are live. Good morning.
morning.
Welcome everybody to the Medicare Cafe pre-chat.
1 minute early.
We are a minute early for the pre-chat. But we were just kind of logging on just to talk. Well, first of all, hope you guys
Black
enjoyed.
and white today.
Look at us. And we have like the same kind of vibey necklace.
Same hair. Oh, don't look too closely. I did these with my children this morning.
I love it.
So
I
there's
haven't done
all
mine
kinds
yet.
of stuff
I can't,
on the sides.
I
Don't
haven't
look
done.
closely.
You know, like those like ADHD hyper fixations on like certain hobbies. Like you can tell someone has ADHD.
Like you and your
because they have-
nails.
So I'm out of love with doing nails again. Like ow! This is being
Wait,
my
you
neighbor
don't
cry.
love doing nails?
Well, it's now become like a job. Like now I'm like, oh, I have to have nails for XYZ event.
Mm.
So like I just now like been putting it off, but I'm going to have to start doing
Thanks,
it this week.
Brian.
Team.
Hashtag T-Black.
Listen, she's on the dark side. Don't question it. Welcome. We were talking about our 4th of July plans. Would love to hear from everybody what your plans are. Who here are you? Okay, who is actually working July 5th? July 4th falls on a Thursday. Who, I would love to hear. Does anybody have appointments? Is anybody working? I am working July 5th.
I never work Fridays, so
Okay.
I'm not a good one to ask.
I will be working July 5th. I will be at the lake, so I will be working from the lake. So if you
That's
come
still
to
a lot
Columbia,
better.
if you come to Columbia to see me, I will not be there.
Won't
I
be
will
in
be at
here.
the lake. But I am very curious who is working, because I keep telling my team, like, hey, you know, Friday's going to be a catch-up day, making sure that we're prepping for stuff. I can't imagine that we're going to get a lot of people needing us on Friday, but I want to be there for everybody. So am I in the wrong, or is anybody here working
Just an
Friday?
overachiever. My husband has to work.
He does?
Mhm.
Well, I know, like, people, like, have to work, but, like, being self-employed.
True.
Like-
Like who's choosing to work.
Carissa's working. Of course you are, Carissa. You're a better person than me. I am working, but I'm not planning on working hard, if I'm being honest.
You'll be working from the lake, maybe
Mm-hmm.
with a cocktail in your hand.
Email me,
I
text
would.
me that day. I might be very creative in my responses.
Insurance doesn't stop.
Insurance doesn't stop for anybody, Brian. Can't stop, won't stop. Insurance. Welcome. Welcome. So what are your plans for the 4th?
It's weird. Like my parents always have a big
I know.
to do on the 4th
Yeah.
every year, and they're out of town this year, and I was like, I don't know what to do.
Come to the lake. You
I
can
don't know
come
what
watch
we're
me
doing.
work on the 5th. You won't be working, but come watch me work on the 5th.
Okay.
Perfect.
I'll pour you the drinks.
Thank you. Because I can't pour my own. That would be irresponsible. Someone else pour
That's
my
right.
drinks. Welcome, everybody, to the Medicare Cafe. Some really cool things are happening in the world of Medicare Cafe that you don't even know about yet.
News to me.
Yes. So you might be seeing a lot more content coming out between Sadie and Ben and Clayton. We're doing a whole new revamp, trying to get much more excited, getting more. They're getting very involved in Medicare Cafe, so you'll be seeing more from them. But what we're doing is we're planning out our content, now, looking at the next few months. So this is a good opportunity for you guys to tell us exactly what you want to talk about, because we know what you want to talk about. At the end of the day, we're going to talk about what we want to talk about. But that's not true. But I am really interested on what you all want to hear about, what you guys are looking forward to. We are actually planning our AEP content as well. And we'll be doing some,
overachiever.
I know. Well, because what we're wanting to do during AEP is to make this kind of like the coffee break. Like, let's give you some AEP updates, but let's have a lot of fun. So they're planning like game shows. They're planning
that's fun.
competitions. So stay tuned. What do you want to hear about other than just watching us be the silliest and whatnot? So welcome today.
What are we talking about?
Today we're
My
talking
cup of
about
tea.
prepping your networking partners, specifically for AEP, this coming up. Because we know, again, if you guys have been sleeping,
I'm excited to say what I've been working on for like a week.
Tell me.
I am working on an email to send out to all of my strategic alliances, all my financial advisors, pretty much about the IRA.
Oh my God. Okay. I'm really excited to hear about this, because that's what all we're talking about today is educating your alliances. And I'm looking for content, looking for information, but all about how do you prep your strategic alliances, aka networking partners?
Yep.
How do you prep them to understand the difference that their clients are going to be facing come this AEP.
Yeah, and that's why it's taking me so long to draft this email, because I'm changing it, adding to it, but especially to the financial advisors, because I feel like they would get more of those IRA related questions. I don't know why, but I'm making a point to send it out to them.
You should do. We'll talk about this, but like even like on your social media and stuff, this is excellent TikTok content, excellent Facebook content, and being like, do a 5-part series on the IRA, on the $2,000 MOOP, on the smoothing provision, on the
I need to do that.
updates
You're
on
right.
the Part B stuff. Like just do like here's a 5-part series, and then like don't do them live, have them, and then send that 5-part series after you're done with them. Send them to your strategic alliances.
Whoa.
Just thought of that.
Whoa. That is a good idea.
But, like, I mean, like, you could record all 5 of them at once, send all 5 of them to those alliances, and then use that for the rest of your posting. So you don't have to do the posting, then do both. Because you want them to get good mileage out of it. So record all 5, and then
send the actual videos, or just send them, like, to my TikTok?
Both.
Because I'm trying to think.
But, like, if you want them to be able to share it, too, I mean, like, they may not, like, I know strategic are, like, financial planners have strict rules. Well, you know this about, like, you know, so TikTok is going to be something that I'm sure they're scared of.
Right.
So, like, if they want to share your
LinkedIn.
content. Right.
Mm-hmm. It's a good idea.
So, we'll get there.
Series.
More stuff. But again, so that's what we're talking about today is how do we prep for this AEP. Now, just some general... skipped ahead. Some general things about strategic alliances. Obviously, this year, it's always been a big deal, but this year is more important than ever because lead generation is going to be very different this year due to the final ruling 1-to-1 consent, meaning that we can go over that if you guys are confused to what the 1-to-1 consent is for lead generation. Long story short, your leads this year in the short term are going to be more expensive and fewer return rates. So just bad across the board when it comes to lead generation. And number 2, it's an election year. So if you're used to doing like if you're used to like radio advertising, TV advertising, those are going to get a lot more expensive.
Yep.
And spots are going to fill up early.
For sure.
And if you're doing social media advertising, you'll have to change your wording because if you put the word election, like election year, election period, then you're just going to take a lot longer for your ads to be reviewed because it's election year, they're doing all the fact checking, things like that. So knowing that other ways of generating content, of generating leads is going to be perfect. My number one recommendation, when we talk to lead generation, this is my number one rule, do not involve finances. Do any of your partners have
for my referrals?
Yeah, don't be like,
partners?
I can pay you $100 per referral. And like, I just say like, do not involve, like, do not set up a payment plan for referrals. It in my experience, I've yet to see it work.
I've had 2 ask me, and what's so funny is of the like 60 financial advisors I work with, they've never asked. The 2 people that have asked have been other insurance agents that are in like group or PNC.
Right. Well, it's just because it's kind of something they're used to. It's kind of like a common,
so
standard practice.
I've never done any transaction. Now, I take them to lunch and I might buy them a bottle of whiskey or something as a thank you.
That's a good thank you.
I thank them,
reward,
but I do
not an expectation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Christy said, taking the AHIT training, the course said that not paying the smoothing monthly bill amount will not term the plan. So carriers are just out of that money. Christy, that's exactly right. So with the smoothing provision, if somebody enacts the smoothing provision, they go 60 days without paying the carrier that money, which is a new thing. We've never had to pay the carrier for a bill before other than your premium. If you go 60 days without paying that bad debt to that carrier, they can remove you from
the smoothing provision, but not the plan.
And so they can go ahead and do other ways like contacting debt collectors and things like that. So they can do other methods of collecting that money, but they cannot term the plan.
Do we know what about like in the future if someone wants to leave Aetna and go to Humana, but they have debt with Aetna? Does Humana know that?
Yes, they will be aware of it, but I don't know that
can they stop you from entering a new plan if you have debt?
That's a really good question. I don't know that for sure. Now, the ability, and like what I also don't know is that will they then be able to restart the smoothing with Aetna?
Oh, yeah.
if they haven't hit
Like,
if they haven't hit the MOOP yet, will they be able to
This is going to be such a disaster.
It's gonna be
Disaster's
a strong word.
Who is going to be
a
the
lot.
expert on the smoothing provision?
Depends on who you're talking about. Because if you ask CMS, the experts, agents, providers, and pharmacies.
I was going to say, pharmacies?
Let's talk about pharmacies. Let's just talk about it. So, number one person or the number one need for strategic alliances this year are pharmacies. For so many reasons. Number one is going to be the IRA. Obviously, we're talking about that. And CMS did say when CMS was asked, who's responsible for teaching people about smoothing, teaching people about the MOOP, teaching people about the CMS said providers, carriers, providers, carriers, pharmacies, and agents. Those are the people for entities that are responsible because CMS says we are not responsible for education. We're responsible for regulation. You guys are responsible for education.
Pawn that off.
So pharmacies are going to be really confused because it's going to be the first time, think about it like this. It's going to be the first time that a pharmacy has not received money in exchange for their goods. So, and the carriers have up to 60 days to pay that pharmacy back. So carriers or pharmacies are going to have
to hate this.
Have to go up to 60 days in order to receive the money for a prescription they filled 2 months ago. But carriers cannot wait for the consumer to pay them before they pay the pharmacy. So it's not like, hey, pharmacy, you'll get your money when we get our money. No. Carriers have to pay it regardless if they get it or not. But they have up to 60 days for that.
So I have one strong pharmacy relationship with Flo's here in town, and I need to just meet with him and be like, tell me your side of this.
So there's going to be, and again, making sure, the number one thing is like, what do they know?
Right.
Because as we know, we see it all the time. Pharmacies are uneducated in a lot of situations around the billing behind Medicare. That's why we see all the time people incorrectly billing Part B or Part D. It happens all the time. And it's not because people are trying to be fraudulent or trying to get extra income. It's like they know, I don't know if I bill B or D. It happens all the time depending on the medication. So understanding that, one, pharmacies are not going to be too excited about this, and understanding that if a medication is over $600, the pharmacy is required to educate the consumer on smoothing. Now, anybody is eligible for smoothing, but if the bill is over $600, the pharmacy is required to educate that. So the number one thing, so that's smoothing. The other side of this is that we're expecting 90% of beneficiaries to see a negative impact on their ANOC this year, annual notice of change. Yep. Up to 25% drop in benefits most plans are quoting. A lot of that is coming because of the IRA. It's coming from the prescription side of things. So pharmacies are going to get slammed with questions, slammed with checking. Those off on us. Well, if they have a good pawn is not the word I would use. They would love to give you referrals. Right. If they have you as a resource. If you go in there and just drop off some business cards and drop off some brochures and do nothing else with them, you were just another person. So now is the time to be meeting with your pharmacies and building those relationships, showing your value as saying like, hey, I can educate your people on smoothing. In fact, we always do this every single year. We come up with a pharmacy brochure that's designed to be for the pharmacist that explain the levels of Part D, that explain the finances behind Part D. Yep. We're making another one to go into smoothing and the maximum out of pocket. So you guys will have access to that to help be a resource to help and it has your information on there.
Just had questions about this.
You can have your information on there and everything to basically say, here, pharmacy, here's what you need to know about smoothing. Just a quick synopsis, what you can tell your consumers. If they have more questions than this, give them my information.
So when you said they have to tell them if it's $600 or more, if their retail price is $600 or if their cost is $600?
I believe it was if their cost is $600, but I don't quote me on that. That's a really great question. Maybe it is the retail value because that means obviously you have the deductible.
So many more.
And the deductible is going to be more because right now we're using the deductible on 3, 4, and 5 tier medications. That deductible is going to come back to tiers 1 and 2 with all this stuff coming on. So that deductible is going to affect more people than it ever has.
And then
that's just a guess. I haven't seen the details for Part D.
So when all the ANOC letters go out, is there going to be information on the smoothing provision in there? Are carriers going to do their job?
Oh my goodness. I would hope
on the Part D section.
Because that is a 2025 change, but it's not a plan change, it's the IRA change. So what we're doing right now is we are actually creating a bunch of education content that's going into the updates to the IRA, including smoothing provision for you to do. So like for you to do like meetings, like educational seminars with. Like that's what we're trying to build right now. I just have all these random bruises and I have no idea where they came from.
Whoa, that's a big one.
I know, and they're my back too. You guys don't care. You care about this. Okay. So we are doing so again, it's what we're talking about specifically for the pharmacies. Education, education, education. We are building those pieces, offering to do a lunch and learn for the pharmacy. Like say like let me teach you and your farm techs. Let me bring in a lunch and I will teach you guys the IRA.
If we're not teaching the pharmacies, who's teaching them?
I mean, who teaches a pharmacy anything, right? I mean, like there's constant change. Like I mean,
but if they're required to talk to their patients about this,
I don't know
who's informing them.
I don't know.
Pharmacies don't work directly with CMS on stuff.
No, but they get like they have to abide by CMS regulations and CMS ruling, but nobody works directly. Only people who work directly with CMS are carriers. That's the only entities that work directly with CMS. So to answer your question, I don't know.
I could see.
I have no idea who's telling the pharmacies this.
I could see now being a perfect time, build relationships with the pharmacies, and then say, here is a flyer. I am hosting an educational seminar free to anybody in September or October, whenever it is, and invite all of your pharmacy patients.
That is something that you could absolutely do. Let me teach your pharmacy, and let me show you like the pros and cons. When is it appropriate to do smoothing? When is it not appropriate to do smoothing?
I gotta learn those things first.
Because really the only time it's appropriate for somebody to do smoothing is if they're going to hit that $2,000 in the first couple months. Because keep in mind, like if they have a medication that's $300 a month, right? Obviously, for some people, that's really difficult to come up with a $300. And keep in mind, I learned this yesterday. Shaylin and I have been doing webinars with Integrity over this stuff, and Shaylin's just a wealth of knowledge about how Medicare works. But he was talking about 10% of individuals actually end up in catastrophic coverage. It's not very often. So this type of provision is designed for those individuals who are paying hundreds of dollars per month for medications. It's not the majority of people. But if you do fall in that camper and you're spending $600+ a month on medications, this does make sense for you because you'll hit that 2,000 max off like early, and then because after that, then you just have pretty steady payments. But keep in mind, if you're doing like if you're balancing out like you have a bill that is, you know, it's just for $1,200. That's a bad number. For sake of purposes, is $120 a month, right? So you go, or excuse me, $120 a year, and it's $120. You do it through the rest of the year. That's your $12 or $10 a month is your payment to the carrier for that. But if you refill that same prescription the following month, then you're smoothing out is now like $30 a month because you're covering for the rest of the month. So like it still doesn't smooth. Your monthly payment will still change depending on when you hit that MOOP.
But I guess what I don't understand about all this is like the $2,000 MOOP is supposed to be like I have a few clients who they're probably spending $5,000 a year in drug copays. So if I tell them now it's $2,000, they're going to be ecstatic.
Oh, it's like on paper, and for those people who are heavy
but
utilizers,
they wouldn't need the smoothing provision because they're like ultimately already saving.
Yes.
$3,000.
To be fair, it's gonna, like I said, it's not like a blanket yes or a blanket no. The smoothing provision is designed for somebody who goes to the pharmacy and their medication is $600, $1,200, and they're saying, I can't afford to take this medication because I don't have $1,200 in my account right now, which is the reality for a lot of our seniors. And so they say, okay, you don't have to give me the $1,200 a day. We'll just take out this $1,200 to where you're now paying $100 a month for this medication, which is much more affordable than you having to give me $1,200 before you start getting better. On paper, for those high utilizations, it's a really positive thing. People being able to get financing for their medications at a 0% interest rate is really positive. On paper, it's the low utilization people whose premium, we don't have to get into this.
Well,
but
what I see what I see happening is they're going to say, okay, well, if I do this and I don't, I mean, they're going to ask, like, what if I don't pay it? And I tell them, you'll get kicked off the smoothing provision. You'll remain in your plan, though. And then they're going to say, okay, but do I have to pay back that money? And I say
Welcome.
no.
Well, I mean, like, but the carriers do. I wouldn't
Who would
say
not
no.
take advantage of that? But that's the truth, right?
No. Well, I wouldn't advise that.
I know, but like, so what do I say? No, they're going to
Because
come after you and
yes, they would come after them. I mean, like they have the right to and to get debt collectors, and they have the right to do all that stuff. So it's not like they have every right to collect on the debt. The only right they don't have is to kick them off that plan.
Kick them off the plan. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But like at some point, like if it's a debt of $300, you're gonna spend more money with the collection agency. You know what I mean? Like at what point the carriers have to recognize, is it worth what's worth
right
going after? Anyways, we're talking about networking today. We're not talking about this. But just keeping in mind, again, knowing that pharmacies, the questions that you guys are having are the same questions that your pharmacies are having, but they're just seeing a different side of it. They're seeing the financial side of it. You're seeing, so making sure that you are there providing them this information, because not only are they going to have so many questions about smoothing, pharmacies are going to be so inundated by people having questions about their drug plans, because when ANOCs come out, formularies are going to look different, copays and everything's going to look different. The first place that a lot of people will go will be the pharmacies. If they don't have a strong relationship with their agent, you hope that the first place they go is their agent, but like with 70% shopping rate, there's a lot of opportunity for you guys to get a lot of orphaned clients. The first place when they don't have support with their agent is going to be the pharmacy they go to.
Yep.
So be that support system for them. Lots of questions here. Mary is asking, has anybody decided to take the NABIP instead of the AHIP? Mary, we do actually have somebody in office. I think I'm actually going to try to take the NABIP as well. It's $100 and you get CE credits for it. So I'm going to do the NABIP certification. I'll let you know how it goes, but I've been hearing good things so far. Just a reminder, Aetna does not take the NABIP certification. They're the only major player that doesn't. So
I think you answered that one. Can we have a smoothing brochure that agents can give to a pharmacy?
We are working on that. We make it every single year. It's just a one-sheeter that goes over the Part D costs. This year, we're making it about the smoothing provision and the Part D maximum out of pocket. So that's coming.
Are you creating a new educational seminar that
we're creating a ton of we're creating a ton of stuff. I got to get with Chaylin and compliance to see if we can do an educational one on smoothing. There shouldn't be anything that we shouldn't be able to, because that information has been out since 2021. Right. So like this isn't new, it's just affecting us now. But yes, we'll do more. Brian's commenting on my armpits. Thank you, Brian.
We have a great new YouTube. Senior marketing specialist. Yes. We have a great new YouTube video with Shaylin discussing all of this.
We are doing everything we can to stay on top of all of the compliance updates, all the IRA updates, everything like that. So like and subscribe to Senior Marketing Specialist YouTube page, because that's where we're putting all this stuff. So anyways, pharmacies, if you're not networking with pharmacies, now is the time to start. Do not wait until AEP, get it together now. And again, we kind of talk like for everybody else, educational events can start now.
For sure.
Making sure that they're understanding the Inflation Reduction Act and exactly what that means is being brought up a ton right now. The Inflation Reduction Act was brought up about 20 times during the presidential debate last week. So just knowing that it's going to continue to be a huge topic of conversation, and what does it do? So making sure that your people understand, again, just making sure you're the resource.
And something like that, being the resource, like if your networking partner is like something that I really wanted to do, and why I'm doing it now is sending out those emails so that they're hearing it from me first. Like, I don't want them to get asked a question from their client and they're like, I don't know about that. They'll say you should ask Carrie, but then like
something in their back
they'll
of their
say,
mind.
yeah, well, why hasn't Carrie talked to us about this?
That's such a great point.
So I want to make sure. Yeah. Yes. I'm going to be the first.
I think that's a really great point. And like keeping it, like making it like on your newsletter, things like that, things that you're just constantly sending out to them. But again, like don't underestimate how much, especially like the bosses, the managers, the owners of these organizations want their people to be educated, either their clients or their staff. So offering to do these events for them, offering to do exclusive events for their clients, that's what you do. That's like a huge part of your networking with financial planners, right?
I've got 8 of them planned in
That's
September.
awesome. That's the
excited.
coolest. Yeah. So just keeping that in mind. I'd also think it's a good time too, if you do already have strong relationships with your networking partners, set the expectations of what your AEP is going to look like. Because if they're promising to like to their clients, oh, Carrie's going to sit down with you for a few hours, for even some hours, go through the full Medicare 101. That's not what AEP is going to look like. It can't look like that this year. So making sure your partners understand, hey, this is what my clients are going to expect from me come AEP. I just want to make sure you're setting their expectations correct too.
Yep. And I have a new financial planning relationship, really kind of started in January. And she was asking me just yesterday, the advisor, she was like, so now during this AEP, like the clients you've helped, like, I just know you'll take care of them, right?
Yeah.
Or like,
do I need
to do anything?
Mm-hmm.
And so that was my bad for not telling her originally, like, yeah, you totally step out. I've got it. I've got my annual reviews. Telling them what we do of like, they'll first get a newsletter from me in September. We'll call them. We'll set up a meeting. Blah, blah, blah.
Something
so I went through that whole
that
process
I think
her.
might be a really cool tool to build is something that we can do with like an agent that's like a one-sheeter of like, what's it like to work with me? And like, here's my process.
SBS kind of has something like that.
Okay. I know like we had something, Integrity made a bunch of like built out, what are they called? Networking packets. Maybe that's in there. I don't know. That'd be a good idea.
Terry says, can we have it even if we aren't one of your agents? What is
Terry? If you ask nicely to the right people, potentially. We try to keep all training that we offer, everything, our university, our webinars, Medicare Cafe is available to anybody. You do not have to be an agent with us. However, oftentimes the tools and resources like the presentations, like the flyers, we do reserve those for our contracted agents because that's the only way we make an income is if agents under us produce. But if you ask really nicely to the right people, Ted or Terry, maybe we can talk.
Is posting news articles regarding the 202 changes?
I bet that's 2025.
2025 changes on our social media pages allowed.
Zero.
If yes, can we insert any of our thoughts or comments?
So here's what's going on. Any information about the IRA has been available since 2021, including these updates. Right. So any information about the smoothing provision, the $2,000 MOOP, anything like that, you are absolutely free to post and comment on. The only thing I'd really warn you about is careful to talk about what people can expect out of their plans and benefits in 2025. Because if you start commenting on plans and benefits in 2025, technically we're not supposed to do that until after October 1st. We can't discuss any plans, any details, nothing until October 1st. If you keep it vague enough and not mention carrier names, not mention specific dollar amounts, not mention specific benefits, you're getting a little bit more leniency on that. But that's a gray area of like, what can I say about what we can expect from plans after 2025? But anything about the IRA, the smoothing provision, anything like that, absolutely go ahead and post about because that information has been available for years now.
And I always end like my posts, like I'll talk about something pretty vague, but then I always say, if you have like specific questions, call me or email me. And like, I'll be happy to talk with you one-on-one where like my voices and opinions aren't necessarily
to the world.
I'm not gonna, not that I would say something that's not compliant, but
no. It is. It's a little less like
intense.
I mean, there's for sure.
Out there.
I'll take a call and be like, hey, why don't you call me on my personal non-recorded line? I would never do that, but like I've done it. If I were to, be like, why don't you call me on this line that's not being recorded?
Right.
Michelle says some clients ending the year with early year
such
cause,
a good point, Michelle.
Even with the smoothing. Yes. Yeah, that's something that's really tough. We always talk about that with like cancer, about how like the max amount of pocket, like you might hit your MOOP in December and then you turn around in January just to have to re-hit it again, right? And then again, like just knowing that with the IRA, it's very likely that people who are low utilizations on tier 1 and 2 medications aren't used to a deductible, and it's very likely they'll have to be this year.
You know what I see happening is we are going to just be so much more, what's the word I'm looking for?
I don't know, but people are being nice.
Our clients are going to love us so much more after this AEP. is what I know is
I
going to happen.
can't tell you enough
Because
how much opportunity there is.
like there are going to be lots of changes, and especially like they're going to probably get confusion from the pharmacy. They're going to be confused about this, and like having one person to just go to for all of that, like I just think they're going to be even more grateful for us.
The value that you can provide this year to your
Yeah.
networking partners, to consumers, I know it.
And their friends who have like, well, I don't know what's going on. Oh, well, here, call Olivia. She's helped me so much.
Exactly. Especially those people, like we've been talking about, like the devastation that poor performing call centers. And by poor performing, I mean people who they're selling vacuums one day, the next day they are now licensed insurance agents selling Medicare Advantage plans. We know the damage they've caused on our industry.
Yep.
And I'm not talking about all call centers. We've worked with several call centers who are fantastic people who are great advisors that are just doing it over the phone. I'm talking about the Rainbow Vac people turned insurance agents, okay? Those, nothing against Rainbow Vac. I know a lot of agents and I don't remember mine. Please don't cancel me. Rainbow Vacs?
Mm-hmm.
They're like the old, like, Jason Kimball used to sell Rainbow Vacs.
Had no idea.
The more you know. Anyways, but again, we know that those individuals they're going to have to call a 1-800 number to get answers, to get help, to get care. And like, that's their least favorite thing to do. So this is an excellent time for us to take our industry back and provide and show the value. That's what all these CMS regulations are, is what is the value that agents provide to consumers, to healthcare. What an opportunity we have to show our value, to show how we educate, to show that we are more than just an enrollment house, right? So this AEP is an amazing opportunity to gain business, to gain dollars, and to show our value. So huge opportunity.
We're going to go through a lot of wine this fall.
I promise we don't bite, except Olivia.
Right before lunch.
Listen, I get feisty. I won't even apologize for it. It's true. We'll have to have a wine budget this year and a vitamin C budget, a hug budget
for sure.
If you're somebody who, like me, that cries a lot. Guys, that's what we have today. It's just going to be talking about what the importance
smoothing today.
Networking, and just knowing that, like, again, the smoothing provision is just a tiny part of the IRA. It's a part that no one's talking about. Everybody else is talking about the $2,000 MOOP. Everybody else is talking about CMS ruling, but so nobody's talking about it. So to answer your question, being like, who's telling the people? Right now, nobody. Nobody's talking about this.
Yep.
So all that's being brought up right now when someone talks about the IRA is because it's the sexy numbers. It's the $2,000 MOOP. It's the $35 insulins. That's all people have been talking. If you talk to, again, that's all they're talking about in on the debates and in the election. So just like no one's talking about this. Someone needs to be talking about this. Go talk about
Probably because they're like, this is too confusing. We're just going to not talk about it.
100%. 100%.
We're going to cause more harm than good if we talk about it.
Not if you use the proper tools like Medicare Cafe and
for sure
what we're building at Senior Marketing Specialist.
Any text questions?
Sorry, I've been ignoring you. Terry, my favorite, says, so people can't do smoothing below $600. No, anybody can do smoothing. Doesn't matter if your medication is $2 a month, you can finance that $2 every month. It would be silly, but you could spend, 80 something cents. I don't know math, but yes, anybody can finance. It's just that if that medication is over $600, then the pharmacy is required to educate them about the smoothing provision. Were you able to help your client stay on that plan? Your D-SNP client. Update.
She wasn't able to stay on the dual, but she was able to switch to the partial dual.
I love that.
Partial dual, yes.
Yeah, it's very cool. I did. We got a lot of people reaching out saying like, hey, tell
really?
Terry to do this, tell Terry to do that.
So helpful. Yes. That, yes. And you sent me about the utility program. It was through Medicaid, and she applied for that too. So whoever sent that, thank you so much. I was completely unaware of that and told my whole team.
Yeah, that's the cool. So thank you guys. Again, we have so much to learn from you. So please, please text me. Okay, I'm the one that just asked for the brochures. I helped you with the Carrie stuff. Yes.
Oh, that was you. Thank you.
That's so funny. Okay, so that's all the questions I have via text. But again, if you're watching the recorded version of this, this is my number at all times. Last week, everybody was texting me horses. I was on the golf course because I was on vacation last
Horses.
week. Horses, what do you think? Oh, no horses.
They're what?
Horses.
What?
Horses.
They were texting you
They
what?
were texting me. Okay.
Why were they texting you horses?
Because last week it was Sadie and Ben. They did a cafe takeover because it was
Okay.
your off week and I was
Yeah.
on vacation. So I'm on the golf course and at Margaritaville at the lake.
Okay.
And all of a sudden my phone starts going crazy. And I'm like, what is happening? And I'm getting text messages. I'm like, oh, it's 10 o'clock of the show. And I'm getting text messages. And I'm like,
Did
why
they
is
tell?
everybody sending me pictures of horses?
That's awesome.
So thank you. You made my golf experience that much better because I'm sitting here laughing my butt off at all these hand-drawn horses. So thank you guys so much. I think I did respond to everybody who sent me one, but so it is true. This is my phone number. Text me. I will answer it. Appreciate you guys so very much. Anything left to add?
I think so. It's gonna be a good AEP.
It's gonna be wild. Again, this
I
is
learn
like
so much from you every time I'm here.
oh, I learned so
you.
much from you. I learned so much from our audience. Like, gosh, could you imagine just thinking like, oh, I know it. I'm done.
No,
So yeah, it's
I don't
it's
know how
crazy.
people do it alone, or who would.
Don't. Why
Yeah.
would you?
Yeah.
Don't you dare. Be a Medicare Cafe agent. All right, guys. So have a great rest of the 4th.
Happy
That's-
4th. Have a great rest of your 4th. Happy 4th of July.
Thank you. Please try your best to leave this week with all the remaining digits that you had before. Some
Oh,
of
yeah.
us fewer than others because of previous 4th. So please try, don't stand over the tube with the explosions. Try to be safe this summer with... Okay, I'll talk to everybody later. Have a great 4th of July. So until next time, have fun
Make money
and give impeccable service.